Welcome to East Coast Believers Church Lake Nona. Thank you for joining us today. We would like to personally invite you to join us in person. We're located at 12253 Lake Nona Gateway Road, inside Village Park Elementary. Service starts at 10 a.m. Today, Pastor Rich continues the series, Life on Purpose. Please stay with us all the way through the end for some important messages and announcements. Now, here's Pastor Rich.
Welcome to East Coast Believers Church. My name is Rich Longden. My wife and Allison and I are the pastors here. We want to thank you so much for coming today, and we want to continue on in a series that we're doing right now called Life on Purpose. So in this series, the thing that we've been really trying to get forward and to put into action, because everything we do here, we want to be able to put it into action. Amen? If I could just teach you the Bible, we could do that, but if you can't apply it to your life, you'll probably forget it by the time you watch your next YouTube clip or go on TikTok. You'll forget everything I just said. But if I can give you tools, if we can supply you with something that you can go and implement into your life immediately using biblical truth and principles, likely you'll see a difference in your life. Is anybody ready for that today? Say amen. Thank you for participating. So for the last couple weeks in this series, we've been going over ways in which you can live your life on purpose and intentionally. So in the first week, if you weren't here for it, just like Pastor Allison said, it is on our YouTube channel at East Coast Believers Church Lake Nona on YouTube. Go ahead, like and subscribe to that. But if you haven't been here, the first week we talked about you being the driver of your life and not just a passenger. That God doesn't want you to simply go through your life. He wants to go through your life with you. He won't drive for you, but He will drive with you. He gives us the directions, but believe me, no matter what country singers say, He is not taking the wheel for you. Don't get your theology from country music. Or Renaissance paintings. It never works out. The second week, last week, what we talked about was the obstacles in our life, how the obstacles in our life, if done with God, can become some of the greatest opportunities that we have to live life on purpose and to grow into the person that we need to be in order to do all that God has called us to do. Is anybody in here interested in growing and becoming all that you need to be in order to do what God has called you to do? Both of you, let's get it. Anybody else? Awesome. Okay, the rest of you are here. My ladies in the back, I saw you back there. So this week, what I want to focus on is something that I know each and every one of us deals with. And that is, I want to focus on forgetting what's behind and taking hold of the present so that we can press toward the future. The book of Isaiah, Isaiah the prophet, he wrote this. And how many of you know in the Old Testament, the prophets would speak on behalf of God to the nation of Israel? That was what their job was. So God would talk to them, and then the prophet would go, and he would go declare it to all the people. And usually, they were not very popular. The people didn't always like what the prophets had to say, but sometimes they laid out some bangers, right? They laid out some stuff that everybody could get into agreement with. And this is one of those things right here, where the prophet Isaiah says on behalf of God, he says this, ready? Do not remember the former things. Everybody say former things. Can we say it with a little more enthusiasm? Like if this was ChatGPT, I'd say, hey, say that with enthusiasm. How about this? Former things. Dang, that's what I'm talking about. Do not remember the former things, ready? Nor consider the things of old. Do not remember nor consider the former or old things. For behold, says the Lord. This is the Lord speaking directly through the prophet Isaiah. He says, behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Ready? I love this. God's the best. Shall you know it? Don't remember those old things. I'm getting ready to do a new thing, and it's going to spring forth. Will you even recognize it? Will you even know I'm doing it? Will you do the first part so that I could do the second part? If we hold on to the old things, what he's saying is you're not even going to see the new things. You can't take part in the new things because you're so occupied in considering and remembering the old things. Shall you know it? He said, I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. How many of you know in the wilderness ain't no roads? That's why it's wilderness. If there was roads, there'd be a Wawa's and an Outback. There's no rivers in the desert, hence desert. What God is saying is, I'll make pathways where there shouldn't be. I'll make means of travel where there can't be because that's what I do. But if you're going to hold on to the former things, if you want to live in a wilderness, you're going to stay in a wilderness. If you can't recognize I just put a road in the wilderness, if you can't recognize I put a river in the desert, you won't even know it because you're so occupied with the former and the old things. And today I want to look at how do we live a life where our mind is not so occupied by the past, a mind that is so worried about a future that we can never live in or walk in or experience the present. We can't begin to move down the path toward living in the fullness of the life that God has for us, the life that God desires for us to live. Now imagine, if you will, imagine your life as a book. Just for a second. Imagine your life, your specific life, just you. Your life's a story. It's a book in the library. It's a book on the shelf somewhere. It's got many different parts. It's got different sections, many different chapters, plot twists, a cast of characters, most of them family or co-workers. It's got ever-changing settings, all spanning years and decades. Now, to capture your entire life up to this point, up to this moment where you are right now, to tell your whole life story up to this point would take dozens and dozens and dozens of chapters, would it not? And those chapters would cite and focus on some of your greatest wins, some of your greatest losses, some of your victories, and some of your failures. Some really great chapters and some really bad ones. But in a book, just like in your own life, just because there was a portion that was a part of your story, it never means it's all of your story. But how many of us often allow a single chapter, a single event, a single point, a single moment in our life define our whole entire story? In doing this, this is what allows our past to hold us back and prevents us from living intentionally in the present so that we can build the future that we really want to live in. Now, our past experiences, our failures, our regrets can keep us trapped in an endless cycle of thoughts that hinder our ability to live in the present moment or move forward towards the future. And not understanding how to handle our past intentionally or on purpose always leads to and keeps us stuck in a loop of negative and disempowering thinking. You ever experienced that? Where you know there's a cycle of thoughts going on in your mind and you really don't even want to go through it anymore. It's like watching one of your grandparents' slideshows of their vacation to Honolulu in 1954 and you were only being polite for the first 10 pictures, and then the next 20, you wish you weren't related to them no more. Slideshows, just for the kids here, are the things like the pictures on your phone. Never mind, it doesn't. There was a projector. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's that negative thought loop. It's so disempowering when you know it's there and you know it's holding you back, you know it's hindering you, and you feel powerless to do anything about it. And in doing that, instead of thinking that negative thought loop, what if we were to learn a way in which we can learn from our past instead of living in it, and use it as a stepping stone to create a purposeful and fulfilling life in our present, so that the chapters of our life are written by us and not just written for us. As C.S. Lewis said, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. What does that actually look like? I mean, that sounds cool. Don't get me wrong. If I wrote a line like this, I'd be an author instead of a pastor. Probably way more successful. No, I'm just kidding. Pastor Rich said he'd sell us out. No, I didn't. No. But C.S. Lewis do be writing some slick lines, doesn't he? What does that actually look like? How do you know that you can't change your beginning, but you can start where you are today so that you can change the forward, the ending? Look, I know I can't do nothing about what happened. In fact, we all really know that. Even when we're in the middle of that thought loop, we really know there's nothing we could do about it. And that almost leads us to that sinking negative pit feeling we got. But what if we had a way in which we could live in this present moment in order to allow the future not to be held by those negative things in our past? Is anybody interested in that? Good, because that's all I'm selling today. So what does this look like? What are some of the signs and the symptoms that our past has a grip on us? What are some of the things that can indicate to us that this is happening to us? Because I want to show us some perspective so that when you're here today, you're not doing the so-and-so needs to hear this thing. You know what I'm talking about? You know when you're sitting there and you're like, mm-hmm. If you hear someone go, mm-hmm, that's not for them. They're judging other people. And they think because they're sitting in the building hearing it, that it don't apply to them. Mm-hmm. No, mm-hmm. Let's not do the so-and-so needs to hear this. Instead, let's listen because we all need to hear this. But I do like to prove a point. I do like to make it clear so that no one can be like, I know that applies to other people, but not me. Mm-hmm. I made it here on time, so my week's going great. Week started 3 hours ago. If you ever found yourself, these are your signs, ready? You ever heard them country comedians? Here's your sign. That's a good line because it's true and funny at the same time. If you ever found yourself constantly dwelling or what is known as ruminating, you ever heard of ruminating? Don't no one use that word no more. What are you doing? I'm just ruminating. Nope. Ruminating's the name of a drone vacuum now. Like it's, what's that? That's my ruminator. AI comes online, that thing's going to kill you. Watch. You watch. Sick of picking up your dirt. No. This is why I shouldn't teach nothing. I should just tell jokes for 45 minutes. No. You know, it's funny when people be like, oh my gosh, Pastor Rich, that was so funny. And I'm like, I don't write any jokes. I wrote the theological part. Did you learn anything? The jokes are a coping mechanism to deal with trauma. That's not the miracle. Miracle, I can speak. Have you ever found yourself constantly dwelling, or anywho, what is known as ruminating on the past, on past events, on past experiences, on past mistakes, on past failures, and you find it hard to stop your mind from going back to those regularly, even when you don't want to? Here's your sign. That's your sign that your past is holding you back from living in the present on purpose. If you've ever had some unresolved issues with a person or conflicts from past chapters of your life that you know are having effect on your present personal life and personal relationships today, here's your sign that your past has a strong grip on you somewhere in your present life. If you know that you have some old patterns of behavior that deep down you know are no longer serving you and are no longer helpful, they're not healthy, and instead of just stopping, you're finding it really difficult, and you just keep doing it, and you find yourself stuck and stagnant in the present and unable to move forward, that's a clear sign your past has a hold on you. Now listen, here's the truth. There's some chapters of our life that we may have needed to develop certain coping mechanisms. That's just a natural function of the brain, right? The brain wants you to survive. Its survival depends on your survival. So when you're going through traumatic things, when you're going through rough seasons, your brain will be like, hey, do this. It'll help us get through this. But just because your brain is a tool to ensure your survival, that doesn't mean that it's always going to serve your best interest in the long run. Just because it served you in the past season of your life doesn't mean you need to bring it into a new season of your life. But if you're not sure how to stop and move on and develop new habits that aren't unhealthy, that's a sign that there's a past version of you that no longer serves or fits you, that has a chokehold on your future. But wait, there's more. If you've ever felt afraid of moving forward, or you have an aversion to new experience or apprehension of trying new things or taking risks because you're afraid of repeating past mistakes or failures, that is a sure sign that the past is blocking the road to your future and closing down your ability to live on purpose today. If you ever have this feeling of guilt and regret and shame that you just kind of carry around with you, you don't like it or want it, but you know it's there. It's just with you wherever you go. You might forget about it every now and again. Look, a roller coaster will make you forget the woes of life for a minute. But once that thing stops, there you are. If you know you're carrying that feeling, that sense of guilt, regret, or shame about things that happened in your past, and you're struggling to forgive yourself and forgive other people, that's a definite sign. That is no doubt that your past is crushing your hopes for a future of the abundant life that God desires for you to walk in. There possibly can't be any more, is there, Pastor Rich? Oh, there is. If you're struggling with a negative self-image in some areas of your life and you're holding on to what I call, or what many people have called, limiting beliefs that are rooted in past experience. Now, these could be things that somebody told you about you, or things you tell yourself about you. And while you may know deep down somewhere those things aren't true, you're just having a hard time getting past them. And that past statement about you, that belief that you hold about yourself that you know isn't true, still has a captivating hold on your present life right now, that's a sign that your past has a hold on you. Now, I don't know about you, but I've checked just about every box in that list. If this was a Cosmopolitan magazine test, like the ladies like to do, y'all know what I'm talking about? Everyone's going to sit there and pretend like you ain't done one in the waiting room at the doctor's office. Is he the one for you? Magazines were these pieces of paper that we used to It wasn't on your phone. You picked it up and you got, never mind. Always had the doctor's office address on it. So when you stole it and took it home, put it on your coffee table like you were sophisticated. We all knew you weren't. Young people are like, what's a magazine? No. They were good. Did you know this? Did you know that most people, if not all people, spend about 1/3 to 1/2 of our waking hours not even living in the present moment that we're in? Because we're so focused in our minds on a past that we can't change or worried about a future that hasn't happened. One thing I've found that most of the things I've worried about never actually took place. Most of the futures that I built in my brain never actually transpired. Yet I spent hours and hours and weeks and months and years worrying about things only to have them never come to be. And the whole time, all I did was miss out on the present that was right in front of me. But when you miss on the present that's right in front of you, you're not actually working on the things that build the future you want to be in. And this is why ruminating is so powerful. It's that what's known as our verbal working memory system. Now, that's just a complex way to say your inner voice. Your inner voice is that voice that just kind of runs in the background of your mind all day. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I don't know who it's talking to. If it's you, it's me talking to me. I'm talking to myself. But it's not yourself because you don't control that voice always. I don't know what it is, but it's essentially your verbal working memory system voicing itself. You're not crazy a lot. A little. You're all a little crazy. Nobody comes to a school to go to church unless you're a little crazy, and that's okay. That's why we like you. It's mind chatter. It's mind chatter. It's that background mind chatter that just continuously ruminates, worries, and catastrophizes your life. That inner voice isn't always bad. Right? It's not all bad. I don't want to portray that inner voice, that verbal working memory system as all bad, but it is that voice that like in the middle of the night when you go to eat a cookie will go, you know you're going to regret that at the beach. Put it down. Put it down. It's that voice that when you say to yourself as you're approaching the gas station, I'll just get up early and get it in the morning. It's that voice that goes, no, you won't. Turn now. We all know how this is going to work out. It's the verbal working memory system. This never works out for anybody ever do that? I'll just get gas in the morning. And then in the morning, you get in the car and you go, ah! You don't tell on yourself. I'll tell on myself. You don't have to do it. I'm going to do it for you. Ready? You ever do this? When you do that, God, stupid. You did it. The verbal working memory system, the mind chatter tried to help you. You tried to help you. Now listen, as much as it'll help us, it'll also hinder us. It'll hinder us. That chatter, that's that chatter that keeps a stressful event continuously going. Even when the stressor, even when the thing that stressed you, that moment in your life, it's done and over, it's the thing that keeps going. It's the argument you have in the shower with nobody. And I say to him, I'll be like, no. I'd be like, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I did say it. And they'd be like, oh, you did? I'd be like, yes, right. The event is done. Where is it? It's in the past. It doesn't exist. And you still be like, I should have been like. Listen, you can write the story at that point. You're the hero because it's gone. You can Monday morning quarterback any stressful event, but when it keeps going in your mind, the stress still stays inside of you because that verbal working memory system just keeps churning and churning and churning and churning. And then you get out of the shower angry. You don't even know why. Skin all rough. It's a rumination is just chatter about the past. Worry is just chatter about the future. And when you find yourself in that thought loop of rumination about the past and that thought loop of worry about the future, you'll be stuck and unable to focus or live right where you actually are in the present. And it's a trap. It's meant to keep you from moving forward. It's meant to keep you from being focused. But instead of being focused on what's in front of you, you get focused on what's to the right and to the left of you. To the left of us is our past. To the right of us is our future. Instead, we can't even focus on what's right in front of us. And what we fail to realize is it's only what's right in front of us that we have control over. But if that rumination, if that worry, if that verbal working memory system can keep you stuck, how are you going to be able to see the new things that God's trying to do and build in you? I know you might be saying, Pastor Rich, that is one long intro. Yes, it is. That's why this is going to end up being a 2-3-part message. Because we're going to leave here today. Don't worry. I got your back. You can get gas in the morning. It's a trap that prevents us from moving forward on those desires we have. It prevents us from becoming and being. Listen, if you come here like regularly, if this is your church, I'm telling you right now, you got to be honest with yourself. You can't be a delusional person because we can't. And I'm not. I tell myself all day. I tell myself to myself. I'll be like, dude, you know that's crazy. You know that thought you just thought's dead crazy. You crazy. There's something wrong with you. And I fix it and move on. I'll be telling my family, I'll be like, hey, was that messed up? What I just did? Was that? And they'd be like, yeah, Dad, that was messed up. Okay, all right, I'm going to work on that. Because listen, what happens is when we get so trapped by those thoughts, we can become a little delusional, but it stops us from being the person that deep in our heart we know we want to be. So what I'm asking you to do, you got to dig deep. Go deep inside and look. And if you don't see the person you know that's in there going, let me out. It's like the Tin Man, oil can. That person just wants to talk and dance, run down the yellow brick road, kill flying creatures in your life, metaphorically speaking. If that person's in there, listen, if you can't be that person, just like Pastor Allison said, if you can't be the person that God's calling you to be because you're so focused on a person you were or things that happened to you or things people said, then you can't be the person that the people in your life need you to be. Listen, this ain't just about you. Just like Pastor Allison said, this isn't just vertical. It's not just about you and Jesus. It's horizontal. There's people in your life that need you to become the thing God's calling you to be. But if you're stuck behind, you can't get there. Thank you, 7 people. Appreciate you. Listen, right now, if there's a portion of your life where you know, in all honesty in your heart, I feel stuck or stagnant. Look, I don't need to know what it is. You don't need to tell me. I just know people. It's the only thing I'm good at. I know people. You know where we feel stuck and stagnant in our lives? In our thinking, in our personal health, in our finances, in our relationships. and our occupations, how we spend our time, if you feel even a spark of stuck or stagnant, it means that feeling is there to tell you something. It's there to tell you you're not making progress in an area of your life that God needs you to be making progress in. You need you to be. You're in a situation that is no longer serving you. You're not moving in the direction that God has for you. If you, somewhere deep inside yourself, you know you have a strong desire for change. Look, we all like change here and there. I know some people be changing their hair color constantly. People like change. Some people don't. But if you know deep inside your heart you have a desire to change something, but you're not taking action on it, that's a sign you need to move from the past and press forward toward something in a new future. A new future version of yourself, a new future situation. And it's okay to acknowledge that you're afraid. It's okay. It is. Don't let influencers fool you. They're afraid too. They just sound cooler. This desire that many people experience and never respond to, all because of the reasons we just discussed. And a day is coming. There is a day coming. It's on the calendar for each of us. I don't know what day it is for you. I don't know what day it is for me. It's coming. It's coming where you won't be able to act on it anymore. You will have used up too many present days in order to change anything in your future because you were so worried about a past you couldn't do anything about. It's coming. That day's coming. But the good news is you have now. You have now. You're here. You're in the present moment. You have it. You have control over it. You don't have control over your past. You don't have control over your future. You have control over now. And if that desire is inside of you, you know, I need to change something. Don't point to other people. You can't point. If my boss would only, no, you. If my spouse would only, no, you. If my kids would only, they won't, I promise, you. What you're saying is, if other people would only sacrifice their present to make my present better, then I could live the life I want to live. That's a lie. Meant to trap you from not moving. It's that burning desire to say, I want to go where God's calling me. I want to be who He's calling me to be. And the devil, your enemy, will tell you lies to say, oh, it's because this person wasn't this in your life. Yeah. Oh, they weren't this. They didn't give you what you needed when you needed it. Probably true. Right. If you have parents, that's true. Oh, no. If someone took care of you when you were little, oh, I guarantee they failed you somewhere. Yeah. Oh, ready? Newsflash. If you're caring for somebody right now who is smaller than you failed them somewhere. You can't make other people an excuse for why you're not moving forward. Just because they didn't give you what you needed doesn't mean you can't get it now. Listen. Man, I'm going to tell myself. Listen, when I was a little boy, one time, someone said to me, because I didn't tell them I was in pain, right? Like I was hurting, and I didn't say nothing because I knew it would be a big deal, and I didn't want to be a big deal because life was too stressful, and I didn't want to add stress. So I didn't say nothing, made the problem worse, ended up getting an infection, cost a lot of money in the hospital. Long story short, believe me, I could do it. They said to the doctor, well, no brain, no pain. No brain, no pain. Not smart enough to feel pain. I took that with me for decades. I must not be smart enough to even have the sense to recognize I was in pain. But guess what? That statement goes through my head every day. I just let it sit there and drop like a bird hitting the window. It looks like it's got somewhere to go, but it don't. Guess what? If I would have listened to that statement and allowed it to stop me, I wouldn't be here right now. Now I'd like to say to that person, hey, I teach theology. Hey, I'm the dean of a Bible college. Planted a church in an area where people said, don't go there. There's too many churches there. Not this one. At one point, I had to say, when am I going to let that statement stop controlling my present? Oh, that person wasn't this. Well, they ain't ever going to be. And there ain't nothing I could do about it. Would have been super cool if they were. But now I need to be something for the people around me. That sphere of influence that I'm in, that I have. I can't let that stuff stop. You can't let that stuff stop you. At one point, you got to stop looking for other people to do the thing that only you can do. You control now. God wants you to control now. God wants you to get a hold of now. It's not wrong to say, Lord, I want my now to be better than my past so my future can be the fullness of all that you have for me. Do you understand that is what the Bible teaches us? You are not bound. The Lord said, behold, look, I'm doing a new thing. Will you know it? Or will you just keep remembering and considering your past? I got so much more to teach, but that's why we're going to make this a part 2 and 3. And what we're going to do over the next couple weeks in this series called Life on Purpose, we're going to look at how we can recognize the new things God's doing. We're going to look at how we can stop our past from stopping our present. We're going to look at what are those things we can do? What are those things we can apply? What are those things we can implement? How can I stop my past from holding me back? Is anybody interested in that? Let me know it. Good, because that's pretty much what we got for the next couple weeks. Listen, it's so crucial. It's so crucial that we guard our minds, we guard our thoughts, and we take responsibility for our present and not allow the past to hold us back, not let worry of the future stop us from living today. I know you might be saying, but Pastor Rich, what can I do now? Thank you for asking. Now listen, I know we got a lot more to go through. We got a lot more to teach, and we're going to get into it. We're going to unpack it. We're going to pull it apart. But I don't want you to leave today without being able to apply something. Do you want something to go home and apply today? First thing you can do. And I don't say this lightly. I'm begging you to do this. I am legitimately begging. Go home and do this. Don't just listen to me say it and forget. I'm begging you, do it. First thing you can do today, bring all your past hurts, your regrets, and your mistakes to God in prayer. Don't talk to God. Talk with God. Do you know He doesn't want you to just talk to Him? He wants you to talk with Him. I joke with my girls sometimes. You ever have to correct your kids and then they say something back and you're like, I think you misunderstood this. I always say, oh, this is a monologue, not a dialogue. Mono 1, dialogue 2. This is me. I'm Jimmy Fallon up in this piece. Some people think that's what prayer is, that it's a monologue. It's just us talking to God. But God wants you to not just talk, He wants you to listen. And when you bring your past hurts, you can ask Him. Next thing, ask Him to help you process your emotions and release any bitterness or unforgiveness and trust in His plan for your future. Every time you find yourself ruminating about the past or worrying about the future, this is something you can do. Third thing, journal. I know. Anytime I had a mentor and they were like, you got to journal, Rich, I'd be like, I ain't doing all that, man. Nah, son. Unsaved Rich would come out and be like, nah, bro, I ain't doing all that. Can I be honest with you? Because I'm going to anyway. As a man, anytime I would hear someone say journal, it just felt super effeminate. And I was like, nah, bro, men don't do that stuff. We just deal with it. We just rub dirt on it and keep walking. That's really not true. We really don't deal with it. We just suffer with it. If you can write the things on paper that you know you're ruminating about from your past, you get them on a piece of paper. Don't write them on an iPad or a computer. Write them by hand. Get them on paper so they don't occupy your mind and they don't limit your thinking. They don't control your emotions. And I guarantee you, by the time you get done, you'll have some masculine tears hitting that page. Or feminine ones. Write down any insights you get while you're talking with God and while you're writing. And please don't take this advice lightly because it holds the power of prayer and the wisdom of God within it. While you're writing, ask God to heal those things. I'm not saying the second you get up, rainbows and unicorns are going to be in your front yard. Traffic on Narcoossee is going to clear out. It won't. But there'll be a portion of you that made progress. And that progress leads to empowerment. That empowerment leads to change. And next week, we're going to continue on this journey of forgetting what's behind. We're going to continue to press toward the prize of the upward call of God. And we're going to continue to experience the abundant life in this series. Before we close, I had two things we're going to do. One, I want to pray for you.
We hope you enjoyed this message, and we want to invite you to see us in person. Service starts at 10 a.m. every Sunday at 12253 Lake Nona Gateway Road inside Village Park Elementary School. For more details about times and location, please visit our website at www.eastcoastbelievers.org. If you made a decision for Christ today, we would love to connect with you for some exciting next steps. Please text EC Saved to 94,000 so we can connect with you and help you with your next exciting steps. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome home.